Rebel religion in the news.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rebel Religion in the News. I'm Jerry O'Lennon, along with Alfredo Romero, my co-host, and Pastor Tim Ruhl of Pleasant Valley Baptist Church. Good morning to all of you. Good morning to you, too, as well.
Morning.
Quick little quiz. It has to do with marriage. What percentage of marriages end in divorce in the United States? Guess a number. You already know. So
I kind of know now.
I know it's really close to 50%. I would think it's a little higher than that because I don't think they all get recorded properly. And the folks that just live together and get apart, we don't count that as divorce.
It's actually 42%. It's actually
42.
improved. For whatever reason, it's improved. Maybe some fewer people are getting married, and maybe they're just living together. That's the negative way of looking at it. Maybe it's because people's marriages are getting better. We could hope so. I'll give you one more quick question. The divorce rate for second marriages is even higher. Did you know that?
Yes.
I had no idea. Yes, approximately 60 to 67% of second marriages end in divorce. Third marriages, 73%. It gets worse every time. Just stick with the first one.
There you go. That's what this is right there.
I want to know
Learn how to make it better.
Do we know the statistic of how many people get divorced, get remarried, but get divorced again and go back to the first wife?
That would be interesting.
That would be.
I'll have to look that
Or
up.
husband.
Yes.
Wife or husband. I didn't mean that, but.
So what we're going to talk about today are ways in which those of us who are married, or those of us who are about to get married, or those of us who someday hope to be married, might have some tips on things to do to make the marriage, put a little spice in the relationship, make it last a little bit longer. And I know Pastor Ruhl is somebody who I've known for several years, and I think it's fair to say you're kind of an expert in this area. You have a lot of knowledge. You've been a counselor with helping helping couples of all ages keep their marriages going.
Yeah, I'm an expert in everyone else's marriage besides mine, okay? But I'm still working on mine, that's for sure. But I can say this last Monday I celebrated 46 years of marriage.
Wow.
And so there's help there. But I'll say this, because of my folks, my dad was married 4 times, my mother married 3. So just realizing there is a need for good marriages, and I may not have learned how to do it, but I definitely learned how not to do it. And so I love it. I can say that, no doubt about it.
I remember the first one you gave. I was at his service yesterday on Sunday, because we're taping on Monday. The first thing you said was hold hands.
No doubt.
Couples don't hold hands.
Nope.
Why is that? I think sometimes, and it seems, what's the word? Maybe
Seems like teenager-y.
It seems like you're.
If that's a word, it seems kind of teenager.
It seems like you're in junior high school.
Yeah, it's like your young puppy love kind of.
Yes.
Thing. We'll hold pinkies.
But those were great days, weren't they?
Yeah,
those
they were great. It was fresh and new.
So why not do them still? That's where we lose our marriages. You always have the honeymoon. Well, how long does the honeymoon last? As long as you want it to last. And I'm not going to miss that. I'm not going to miss it. So that's where it really started. Was my wife and I were starting doing some remodeling, things like that. So we're looking for a lighting fixture. So we went to Lowe's department store. And so I pulled up there, I parked, I got out, I got the door for my wife. That's a good little plug right there. Get the door for your wife. And
Yes.
I got the door for my wife and shut the door, and we're walking across the parking lot and holding hands. And we walk inside there, and we go to the lighting area, and there's like 7 gazillion lights up there. We're looking around there, and a lady comes up, and she goes, hey. And so we both look at her. She goes, I want what you have. And I'm going, like a lighting fixture? What are you talking about, And she goes, no. She goes, I saw you holding hands in the parking lot. And she goes, I don't see that anymore. And then I kind of watched you in the store, and I watched you do this. She goes, I want what you have. And I thought to myself, my wife and I, we talked to her for a little bit, and then we didn't find a lighting fixture that night. But as we're going home, I just said, honey, all because we held hands. I said, honey, let's hold hands while we can. While we can. We all have friends who have lost their loved ones, or maybe some, just like Alfredo here, there's some limited physical things there, and just to hold hands. So let me make an emphasis on this very first one, okay? I remember the day I couldn't wait to hold hands. I remember the day I could not wait to do that. And now that I have the privilege there of holding hands with the one I chose out of this whole world to love, why wouldn't I continue to hold her hands? And I think the holding hands is just one tip about having a good marriage. And for everyone that's listening, I'll say this. You say, well, you got a good marriage. Oh, no. We got a bad marriage. Oh, no. You just got a marriage. And whatever you determine to do with that marriage is all up to you. And you can live in a home, sweet home, or you can live in a boxing rink the rest of your life. And I just realized this. I'm not going to live in a boxing rink the rest of my life. I'm going to live in a sweet home, a sweet, sweet home. And I do know this, that if we'll be honest with ourselves, our marriages, that relationship, literally affect every other relationship we have.
Yeah.
I've watched many men come into work grumpy. Oh, what's wrong? Well, my wife and I aren't getting along. Or this ain't going very good, or she's not talking to me. And I've watched kids, just yesterday, I watched some children because their parents were arguing, and the kids just dropped their head like they're embarrassed. And honestly, marriage is the very first relationship God gave us outside of our walk with Him. And so to not have a good marriage literally means it takes a little drain on your life. And so why not have a good marriage? And so when that lady said those words, I want what you have, I can say this to my congregation, but I can say it to every single person listening here. I'm not really a preacher as far as, hey, you got to have this. I'm a very satisfied customer. And I have the privilege of enjoying a great, great, great marriage. And I want everyone to have that. I want everyone to be able to walk home in the door, a wife's there, or they meet up, or however it works out, and just be thrilled about being married.
Okay, so holding hands.
Here we go. So I'll get to them. Number one, I said hold hands. And if you just take a moment and look at your hands, I think about what my hands have been through. We met in college. I've thrown a lot of footballs in my life. I think about my hands, and I've hit a lot of drywall nails in my life. I think about my hands. My hands have turned the pages of many Bible verses. But I think about my wife's hand. Man, she's caressed and held her children. I think about my wife's hand. She's a waitress. She's served a lot of people. I think about my wife's hands and how she has comforted so many people in nursing homes and different places. And I think those hands tell a lifetime. And so to be able to hold hands has been tremendously, tremendously helpful to us. Second of all, I'll say this. Get good at giving compliments. Get good at giving compliments. Now, I'll tell you this. Men are more egotistical than ladies are. It's just the way we're built. Because we're built after God's own image, and God loves to be glorified. So men love to be complimented. And the thing is, compliments are free. They're free. They're not cheap. They're free. Yeah. That means anyone could give a compliment. Now, I'll say this, and these are some good things under compliments, is number one, just got to be sincere. Just take your wife aside and just stop the whole world and look at her and say, you've made my life better. Mm-hmm. You made me a better person. And I just heard Alfredo say it this morning. His wife is everything to him. And she may have some physical difficulties. Those are going to be temporary. But may I say this? She's the drivenness of his life outside of God. She makes him a better man. And likewise, there's no doubt that he makes her a better lady. But they go back and forth. They compliment each other. They have fun. They enjoy themselves. So this compliment thing. And same thing for the wife. I'll ask the question, when's the last time you gave a real compliment to your spouse?
You should give one compliment a day to your wife.
At least.
I mean,
yeah,
minimum.
you're right.
Yes.
You're right.
I mean,
yeah. I say this all the time. My wife is the primary tool or instrument that God used to get my relationship with Christ back on track.
I took your advice about 2 months ago. I started giving my wife a compliment, and she was almost like dumbfounded for a second. She actually,
what do you want?
She stood still, and she did one of these, what? Huh? She looked really pretty today. I love that outfit. Looks really good.
Whoa, there you go.
And she was like, she paused for about 3 seconds. Oh, thank you.
Yep.
And then she walked away. It was like she was stunned. Now I do it every day, and it's a blast. I love it.
There you go. I know this. I would rather compliment her than having some other man compliment her and spark something in her mind that I never hear that.
Yeah, my husband never tells me
that.
that.
That's so true.
Yeah, he just tells me I'm always look tired.
And I'll say this will be a little more of a graduated level, but I'll tell every man this. Never use compliments to be manipulative. Yeah. And we can walk home from work or getting home from work, and maybe she's there just getting the final touches on dinner or whatever. And we go up behind her, we put our arms around her, and we say, oh, you're so beautiful. But we give it in the mode like, maybe later on we can. Mm-hmm. And they hate that. Yeah. They don't want to be known as an object. They want to be known as someone that you sincerely love and care about in this lifetime. But I'll tell you what, you can't beat a compliment. So number one, I say hold hands because you get to. Number two, get good at giving compliments. Number three, you got to learn how to listen well. Listen well. Now, I'm going to make a statement here that's true to every one of us. I did teach this lesson yesterday at church, and Jerry asked me maybe to bring it here on this podcast. But just last night, a brand new couple who's never been to a church, they're engaged. They heard the lesson, and they came back Sunday night for the church, and they said, I started doing the first 4. I held her hand today. I gave her a compliment today, and I'm still working on listening well. Think about listening well, and I'll make this statement, is that most of us converse, we talk, we have conversations to be understood. We don't have conversations to understand. And the thing is, conversing is a two-way street. If I really want to get to know my wife, I have to listen to her. Now, I've been married 46 years, so I think I know my wife pretty well. I think I know what she's going to say. I think I know how to go ahead and come back about what she's going to say. But then I'm not really listening to her. I love this because it's such a good and true, not analogy, but maybe an eye-opener, is that, and we're in conversations when my wife is talking, sometimes I'll start thinking ahead about what I'm going to say back to her. Right. Oh, she said this. Well, I'll get this ready, this ready, and this ready. As I'm thinking those thoughts, I'm not listening to her. And then I'm conversing so she'll understand me. Because I want to get this point across, and this point across, and this point across. That means I'm not really trying to understand her. I'm listening to be understood myself, and that's very selfish.
Who likes to tell their stories more, men or women?
I don't know. I think both of us do. My wife is so good at telling me about her day and the loving the children, the things she's done and helped. But we men, we like to talk about accomplishments and here's what I did today at work. Here's what I did, or you know, my batting average, or this or whatever. So I think it's a God-given gift for both of us to share our lives. I think it's big time.
Yeah. I went. You remind me something on your second point. I went to a marriage seminar about 10 years ago. We remember Dr. Gary Chapman, who wrote the Love Languages?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so he talked about words of affirmation, what your love language was. And my wife is definitely words of affirmation. She loves it when I compliment her. It just builds her up.
Everybody needs that, I think. Yeah, words of affirmation. We're going to take a break, continue discussing tips that we could use to make our marriages better. And we'll continue our discussion with Pastor Tim Ruhl from Pleasant Valley Baptist Church right after this short time out. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. I'm Jerry O'Lennon, along with Pastor Alfredo Romero, my co-host on Rock of Life Fellowship, and also Pastor Tim Ruhl. He's the pastor emeritus at Pleasant Valley Baptist Church.
I can't spell that, but I'm glad I'm part of it. Yeah.
I can say it. I can't spell it. We're looking at the top 10 tips that people need to have a better marriage. And we have number 1, hold hands. Number 2, give compliments. Number 3, listen well. What's number 4?
Number 4, I'd say this, and ladies are going to love this one here, okay? Spend some money. Spend some money. Now, I think that's very important, and I'm not saying it has to be a large quantity.
We're talking diamonds or chocolate?
Well, you got to begin someplace, okay? I don't look at spending money as far as the worth and so forth. I look at it as, is it going to make a memory? Yeah. It's going to make a memory. My wife, honestly, she is a roller coaster junkie. She really is. I mean, she just loves it. Now, here we are, married 46 years, all right? And so that puts us up in age a little bit for everybody. But this last week when we just had our 46th anniversary, 46 is not like a big number of an anniversary. It's not the 25th or the 50th. And so I was preaching in North Carolina. I asked her to go with me. And so I was preaching there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, had Saturday, on Sunday, all day long. Monday, I was going to fly back with my wife. That's our anniversary Monday. And I thought, you know something? I'll just make it special. So Monday, instead of flying back to California, I flew to Florida. And I took her to all the amusement parks down there, and we got on every roller coaster we could and made a day.
Wow.
It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Now, I'll say this, and here's the point I want to say. Yeah, if you go to Disneyland or Universal Studio, it's $115 for the ticket. And then you have to spend the food, and we had a hotel that night. So it was a little bit of money. No, it was a great memory. Mm-hmm. She'll never forget the anniversary where her husband took an extra day off work to take her someplace that she could have this love bank fulfilled. It's about spending some money. And I gave you the illustration. If any one of us had our wives and riding a bicycle, she hit a parking bumper and when it hit her heels and lost her 2 front teeth. Mm. It's $5,000. Yeah, we'd find a way to get it done. Yeah. And we would. Why? Because it shows our love to them. So why not use the same mentality? If there's a great need, I'd do it. but a great need to make memories to make my marriage better for a lifetime. And so spend a little money. Hey, guys go out and buy a bass boat or a brand new shotgun for $300 or $400. They wouldn't do that to make a memory for the wife. So
Spend money for memories.
Yeah,
works.
about 5 years ago, I stopped giving Christmas presents to my family.
Good.
And I gave them tickets to someplace, like
Oh, yeah.
like
Like a
like to
concert
my
or something.
daughters, like me and my daughter. I took my daughters out to a concert. I took my son-in-laws to a Kings game, to
Wow.
basketball. I took my wife on a like a 4-day trip someplace, and I took her to we took out a cruise, an Alaskan cruise. So every year they know they're not going to get material things. We're going to get experiences and time.
It's great.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't know what I got for Christmas a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 10 years ago. But those memories, snow houses, skiing, or trips, or whatever, they work very, very well.
We got 8 minutes in the show. Number 5.
Okay, here we go. This is a big one, though. Learn to say, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's it. That's enough there. No.
But see, that's a true
Yeah,
reaction
that's it.
because I'll tell you what, every single one of us have a hard time. We have a hard time saying, okay, let's go to the next thing. How's that sound? No, we need to stop and say, I'm sorry. But this is true. We all have pride. Now, I'm okay with pride, but until it interferes with the relationships. And so the Bible says, only by pride cometh contention. Because when you say you're sorry, here's what you're saying. What's that word? Men don't know that word. Yeah, I'm wrong, and you were right. And that's so tough to say because we want to be everything in front of our spouse or our mate. We want to be there for them. So to say I'm sorry is very difficult. And I'll say this, I don't care how good you get at it or think you get it, it's still tough. My wife and I, as I mentioned, these 46 years, but I can say within the last 7 days, there's been some differences. We talked about it. Nothing bad, and we laid down some guidelines. We work at it. But I know myself, I said, Tim, this should be easier. You love this to me, you and do this. And it's still tough. But we have to get good at saying, I'm sorry. So what I say is always just back it up. What are you really talking about? What are you sorry about? What happened? And I make this statement, I never let my problems become personal. Just not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Let's say my wife had a car accident or something like that. Oh, my goodness, I can't believe how's the car, what's going on, how much are going to spend us? I don't care about a car. I care about a person. It could have been overdrafting the checking account. It could have been overspending this. Could have been you forgot this, whatever. Well, those are situations, but I'm not going to let a problem become personal. I'm going to go a little bit further on this because it's such a need in our relationships today, is that when we have a disagreement and we argue or whatever you want to call it, okay, people say, I've never argued with my wife for 30 years. Well, you haven't talked to her either. So.
I call it intense fellowship.
Okay, there you go. He's got it down.
I got it.
It's pretty good when we master our names for what we're doing.
Yes.
We got about 5.5 minutes in the show. Number 6.
Okay, number 6. I know it's going to sound very, very cliche. You got to walk with God. What does that mean? Because God gave us our specific roles. He told a man what to do, and he told a lady what to do. And I don't care what society or culture says, it still works because God made marriage. So you got to have a walk with God. This is the key to all others. The Bible says, husbands, love your wives. Wives, be submissive to your husbands. I know that sounds like all archaic and things like that, but God knows how to make a relationship work. It's just like kids. Like children obey your parents. Well, that's so archaic. Throw that one out. You throw that one out, we have a messed up society, all right? Yeah. Number 7, all right? Meet each other's needs before your own. Meet each other's needs before your own. He mentioned Gary Chapman writing the 5 languages of love. My need, what I have, is different wife's need. Wives, most of the times, we meet their needs by what we like, all right? I'm an affectionate person. I like holding my wife's hand. I like putting my arm around her. I like just holding my wife and taking care of her. But that may not be her number one love bank. Maybe she doesn't just kind of leave those arms off of me, things like that. And so we have to understand, I want to meet her needs or what she needs. I want her to meet my needs according to my needs, right? Number 8, all right? Serve others together. Now, maybe a lot of people don't understand this one, but Alfredo is a pastor of a church. Jerry comes to church faithfully. And when you see people in need, like you talk about your wife in a hospital right now, rehab right now, and she was catering to somebody else over there, but it made her feel good. Mm-hmm. I know this, when I go serve other people, my wife, and we see that they have a whole lot worse than we do, we start realizing we have it pretty good. I remember we have bus routes go all around our town, and we pick up anybody that wants to come to church for free. And when we go to certain homes, we think, ooh, this is a rough home. And when my wife sees maybe a kind of a belligerent husband, or maybe I see an uncaring wife, we walk out there holding hands, we say, we got it pretty good.
Yeah.
We got it pretty. So serving others together will be a tremendous help. Keeping your own marriage doing very, very well. I know I'm going to try to get all these 10 in. I'm going to try to do the best I can. Not only walk with God and to hold hands and to listen well and to spend some money together, learn to say, I'm sorry. I'll say this, just to slow down and ask what you could do for each other. My wife has a busy life. She teaches, she's a kindergarten teacher. We do visits a lot. We have 4 children, 16 grandchildren. And sometimes it's nice to simply say, what can I take off of your plate? What can I do for you? But again, that just causes us to slow down, think, and what can I do? So really, just try to meet each other's needs and to serving one another. Let me just finish with this last one. Just have fun. Just have fun. So I'll ask this, and I want to just use the scripture here. Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 1. The wisest man in the world says these words. The Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. First of all, he wrote 1,000 songs. He said, this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one. And here's what he says. Let him kiss me. Let him kiss me. Now, I'm going back to holding hands, all right? I don't know about you, but when I was a teenager, I wanted to kiss a girl. I just, I don't know where it came from. I didn't have to read a book. I just wanted to kiss a girl. Yeah. And I saw the girl. I can remember her name, Mary Ann Baltish, all right? 7th grade, whatever. Things started changing, all right? And I started thinking.
I remember my first one,
Come
too.
on, there you go, there you go.
Susan Mansfield, wherever you are.
There you go. Yeah, shout out, there you go. And I thought about that, and now that we're married, when is the last time you intimately kissed your wife or husband?
Yeah.
Like we lost that. We lost it.
Yeah.
And I thought, why lose that thing?
Yeah, I think there's people that think that marriage should just be natural and there's no work involved. And
Oh, no.
there really is work involved.
Oh, yeah. Every day. Matter of fact, if you don't mind, if I can I just
Help
read this.
yourself.
We said this in the first segment. I just want to follow up on it. How many people remarry their first spouse? If we just stick to what God's plan was, we wouldn't have all the, stuff we have to go through. But according to research, Pew Research, between 10 and 50% of couples reconcile after they separate. However, only about 6% of couples marry each other again after they divorce. 6%. I just, it's one thing I do know. God does not think highly of divorce.
No.
And if we could just institute the godly perspective, what you just rolled out here in these 10 guides, trust me, I'm feeling convicted after you read. I go, oh no, I got to work harder. But yeah, I'm blessed. I do not deserve my wife.
That's the way we should feel.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, for most preachers, always ask themselves the question, but what do I preach today? What do I preach today? What do I preach today? Just ask the question, what do they need today? And if half of our marriages are not making it, take some time and just tell them how to be married, how to love each other, how to take some time with
You
each other.
talk a lot about marriage
Yeah.
and relationships in your sermons.
All the time.
Every single time, not every time, but I mean so many times.
All the time. Why? Because I have married couples there that I guarantee are just like you and I are.
Yeah.
And we love our wives and they love us and they put up with us. But it's not perfect. And just like the lady said right there, she said, I want what you have.
Yeah.
I want people to have that same marriage that God gave us as a gift. And I'll tell you what, nothing better. Just nothing better. I love it. I'll say this, that verse right there, he says this, after he says, kiss me with your kiss, then he says, draw me and I'll run after you. So here's a good final thought. Do you make your spouse, do you make your mate want to run after you? What do you do?
I like
Do they
that.
want to spend time with
That's
you?
a nice image to end with.
There you go.
Pastor Tim Ruhl
Love it.
of Pleasant Valley Baptist Church. If you're watching the podcast, we have the time of the service on the screen. They're located over on Garner Lane, the big white church, across from Courtesy Motors. And also, of course, Pastor Alfredo Romero, Rock of Life Fellowship. Thank you for watching and listening on KKXX. We'll talk to you next time, and so long, everybody.
Rebel